Marc Crawford, of course, you may know him as he was former coach of the Colorado Avalanche when they won the Stanley Cup. Peter Forsberg, Joe Sakic, you might have heard of those guys. They're pretty all right, from what I hear at least. Um, and obviously, he would spend some time with Ottawa. He's been here, he's been there. I believe he actually coached Austin Matthews in the Swiss League when he played for the Zurich Lions. Mitch Marner played for them. And some
Almost.
stuff coming out about him. Sean Avery, who I cannot understand that man, talked about how apparently he kicked him during a game. There's also been a gentleman, Harold Dugan, who I've never even heard of before, called out Crawford as, the worst person I've ever had as a coach. And right now he's an assistant with the Blackhawks. And the Blackhawks have announced that right now Marc Crawford will be away from the team as they conduct a thorough review based on the recent allegations that have been made regarding his conduct with another organization. So there's the drunken stuff. There's Sean Avery, who since then has come out and kind of gone against it and saying that he loves Crawford and he should have kicked my ass, was a quote. Patrick O'Sullivan talked about Crawford's physical abuse in his book 4 years ago, and stuff is only being done now. Now, there's Swift Current, which I'm assuming we're talking about a little later, Alex, but there's also the coach's PA. We just have a whole mess of stuff with Marc Crawford. So where do you want to start with this?
I guess why don't we just start with the Sean Avery stuff? And I think this topic we're going to be talking about. There's going to be something new coming, like every week. And I think I said we had the big discussion an episode or 2 episodes ago, but I said we're going to see it now, and everyone's been saying it. We're going to see a lot more players and whoever else start coming out because now they know what's going to be done. But there's still a problem. There's still a problem. The thing is, I don't think we're going to hear a lot from players who are currently in the game. I think we're going to hear a lot from players who are outside of the game, who have been retired or are playing in Europe or anything. They're not really a part of the game anymore. That's who we're going to hear from. So Sean Avery, we've heard from Sean Avery. We've heard from Patrick O'Sullivan, right? Look at the players we've heard from. None of them are in the league except Mitch Marner. But Mitch Marner didn't say it himself. It was brought to him, right? So that's an important thing that we have to keep in mind is that we're not going to hear a lot of this stuff from current players in the NHL.
No. Now, do you want me to read the Coaches Association statement here?
You can, but I didn't get a lot from it.
So first of all, I didn't even know the Coaches Association was a thing until last night. So here's a little thing about them. So they say, we believe the NHL is a league built on hard work, respect, and teamwork. It is a coach's job to understand how best to motivate players while respecting them as individuals and valuing them as people. Coaching philosophies differ from coach to coach and season to season, but there are lines that cannot be crossed, and there is certainly no room in the NHL or anywhere else for abusive behavior of any kind. The National Hockey League, including management, players, and coaches, have evolved, and the NHLCA is committed to working with the NHL and NHLPA to ensure respectful working environments for everyone. Now, Alex, I don't look at that statement as anything special, but do you know who are key members? Oh, I'm sorry, I accidentally trashed something on my computer. I know I did that a lot last episode, sorry. But do you know who some of the head people of the Coaches Association are?
I know one member of the executive committee is Mike Babcock.
Oh, hold on. Sorry. I know also Bill Peters was part of it.
He was. I don't think he's part of it anymore.
Also, I believe that Mike Sullivan is also part of it. So It was very funny to see that. Oh, who are key parts of it? It's Babcock. It was another Hockey Canada guy in Bill Peters. It's very, very funny to me.
I have the executive committee here right now. This is from their website. Craig Berube, Pete DeBoer, Mike Babcock, Paul Maurice, Claude Julien, Ray Bennett, Bill Ranford, and Blaine Forstey. So, listen, that statement was clearly just a very general statement. To me, it doesn't say a lot. To me, it's the bare minimum of what that association should do. So that statement doesn't. It's a very general statement if you think about it. It's like a description of what that association is doing. It's good that they let everyone know that they're still there. That's great. But there's not a whole lot I got from that specific statement. Now, since we're on the league, the NHL, the NHLPA, I don't know if you listen to the Ray and Dregs podcast, but this is what Ray Ferraro made. It's called the Hockey Charter, Ray's Code of Conduct. There are 6 parts to this. I'm going to read them very quick. So this is what should happen. This is what should be going on. An annual seminar during training camp. GMs, coaches, and the players participate. The participants have to sign a code of conduct, and there should be a refresher course during the season. The seminar will evolve on an annual basis, and there should be an independent body to hear complaints. I think that's exactly what the league needs.
We talked about last week about what's the first step you have to take, and it seems to be Ray Ferraro has sat down and figured out that next step, which is really nice to see.
Yeah, and I think that's exactly what needs to happen. I don't know if it's going to necessarily happen the way we think it's going to happen. Now, we know the league, the commissioner, and Bill Daly have sat down with Akim Aliu, and it seems like there was some type of progress. And they said Akim Aliu said he believes there is going to be some type of change happening within the NHL based on the meeting he had. So that's good to see, and I really hope not exactly like this, obviously, but something similar to this should be implemented, because it is a problem. And the one thing that I think needs to happen, if they're not going to put a seminar or some type of course, they need to have an independent body to hear complaints. I think that's the most important thing, and that's the bare minimum the league needs to have. Whether that's run by the NHL or it's most likely going to be run by the PA, but it's something that needs to happen, or else it's just going to stay silent. And it's going to end up like this, where people are coming out 10 years later or 15 or 20 years later. Things need to be known now. Whether those complaints become public, I don't know if that's my biggest concern. Sure, it's great to know what's going on behind the scenes, but as long as those complaints are getting to the right people and those people are doing something about it, that's the first step, for sure.
It's also good to see that this is happening more than just at the NHL level. This is happening in the CHL as well. An example of this, the Swift Current Broncos, who were actually part of the Memorial Cup, I believe, 2 years ago. Statement here, the Swift Current Broncos have released head athletic trainer and equipment manager Jamie LeBanc. Effective immediately, the decision was made following revelations of a recent pattern of demeaning and derogatory comments, threatening behavior, and unprofessional conduct that is inconsistent with the values of the Swift Current Broncos, all that type of stuff, and normal media speak. So it's good to know it's happening down in the CHL too. Because the Aliu stuff all started with his time in Windsor. So if we want to really get the root of the problem figured out, it needs to happen in the CHL as well as the NHL.
It has to happen everywhere. And at the end of the day, I don't think it's yes, sure, it starts with the NHL and the CHL, but at the end of the day, it comes back, has to go up to Hockey Canada, and it has to go up to the US. I'm not sure what I'm assuming US Hockey. It has to go all the way up there. Because you have to look at the process of getting to the NHL. It all runs back to Hockey Canada or US Hockey. So it needs to be instilled there. It's great that the NHL is doing it because you know what? That covers 31 head coaches and whatever amount of assistants and managers and equipment staff and behind the scenes guys. It covers all that. But players are going to experience it before they get to the NHL, from the CHL, even before the CHL. So it needs to go farther. At the end of the day, it needs to go farther than just the NHL and the CHL. But I think what they're doing is a good start.
Mm-hmm. Well, Alex, of course, sorry, go ahead.
No, and then we'll see what happens with Akeem Alou and the meeting between him and the league. And we'll see where it goes from there.